Alan, I'm a big fan, but we don't do intros. We do always start off our live streams with a dynasty trade, however. So let's go 12 team Superflex PPR 1.75 tight end premium start 10. Are you going T. Higgins or a playoff 24 first and 25 second?
Can
Go
I
ahead, man.
can I acknowledge that no intros needs to be a thing, right?
Yeah.
You are, well, I'm sure we'll talk about this, and I will talk about this trade, but I have pounded to my colleagues over at Rotowire, stop with the welcome to this podcast and then repeating it 6 times and then asking them how the weather in Cincinnati is.
Yeah.
No, not necessary. Thank you. And I'm going to use this as an example.
Well,
T. Higgins,
thank you.
man. Yeah, totally. T. This all depends on how you feel about T. Higgins, right? He's now becoming a polarizing player, right? I mean, there was a year ago, people were pushing each other out of the way to get him on their dynasty startup team. And now nobody wants him. I'm on the side where I want out. I would do it for a single first at this point and take a roll, even though that's cheap. So I'm on the side where I want picks. I want out of T. Higgins. I mean, I don't even think he can get this deal, but if somebody wants to give me Tank Dell, it's not happening, right? At this point, I mean, T. Higgins has got to be what?
It's close. It's probably close. You know, Tank Dell has more juice in the market right now. But so what's the reason why you're an atomic sell on him? What's the narrative you have in your mind in terms of what's going to happen with him in the offseason?
Right. Well, I'm under the assumption that he's not coming back this year and wants to get the full like Jake Browning experience. Right. He's a free agent. He's going to go into the market. The people are going to be paying attention to how he did down the stretch here. I mean, that could swing your negotiation millions of dollars, multiple years. Wide receivers and quarterbacks are the only players that get these true multi-year contracts. Now, of course, he can get slapped with the tag, it could happen, and then he's back in a similar situation. But he's the 1B, and now he's piling up some injury concerns. I just think that he's going to have a depressed value once the season's over, and these picks will be more valuable than him. Trying to what's Dynasty? It's trying to predict what's going to happen in 6 and 18 months from now, right? So I'm predicting in my head, I will take the chance that T. Higgins is not as valuable. I mean, he'd have to end up in an unbelievable. What's the best spot he can end up in free agency where you're like, oh my God, he's wide receiver 11 overall?
Yeah, we were talking about this last night, and honestly, Carolina would be an interesting spot because it's kind of a gross team, but he would walk right into like Adam Thielen's 30% target share, and he's less crusty than Adam Thielen is. But so that obviously the Chargers they could use a wide receiver, right? Did they draft one last year?
Yeah, Chargers is crowded, right? Yeah, the Carolina one, I could see it, but he would have to be like, I'm going into a terrible team and I'm just going to get paid, which, by the way, nothing wrong with that. I'm all about selling out.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Do your thing. No, so let's get started with the content creation talk. So this is kind of the first run of Dynasty Creator is what we're calling it for now. I had been calling it Dynasty Different, but that just ended up being a collaboration show where we just talk Dynasty, but we both are passionate. Yeah, we're both passionate about content creation. I want to hear about you first. We're going to do some cool stuff going into the Trades in 5 analytics and talk about, audience retention data and stuff like that. Keep it pretty high level. We'll get more into the weeds on a second show. But Alan, you're the man. Been a big fan for a long time. We're a big fan of your show. Apparently you like ours as well. But talk about yourself, man. We all like talking about ourselves, right? That's heavy sarcasm. But tell me your story. How'd you get to where you are now, man?
And by the way, I'm not only am I a fan of Dynasty Trades and what you've created over there, and let's make no mistake, you've created something, right? You brought something to the marketplace that wasn't there before. It's appointment viewing for me. I'm there when it goes live. So, just like you, man, I worked a regular job, and then I was doing podcasts for like my leagues, right? Like going back like 7 years ago. And, people liked them because I'm talking about their team. I didn't crap on them too much. And then, I was writing my rankings on message boards and just getting that, I was at my cubicle when I lived in New York, just more, I think like 90% of my day was just going through my dynasty teams. I barely did any work. Once in a while, I would pretend like I was doing something, just like everybody. I mean, this sounds familiar, right? I mean, this
for sure, 100%.
Yeah, so nothing unique there. I was a caller on the radio show, Rotowire's radio show, I'd call in all the time. I would call in with bits, not just like, hey, who should I start? This guy or this guy? I'd call in with like these fun little bits. And then I became like a regular a regular caller to their show. I wouldn't call every week, but every few months. Oh, this guy's on the phone. He's got a creative bit. So that's how I got my in with Rotowire. But before that, I would also call into, you're aware of the Dynasty focus company Roster Watch?
Roster Watch, I've heard of it. I've heard of it. There are a lot of companies that sound similar, but yes, Roster Watch I've heard about.
Yeah. So rewinding a little bit, I'm sorry, I went a little too fast, and I'll be brief here. Is that I had a buddy of mine that I went to college with that started a DFS company about 10 years ago called DFS Army. Right. He actually was on the draft that we did together on SiriusXM, you and I, Clay.
Yeah, the other day.
And then, so he would have me, he'd give me a small amount of money to write some articles, to go into his Discord and answer all the start-sit questions. And that was about maybe 5 years ago, which parlayed into working for Roster Watch, writing about 3 articles a week, doing some videos, terrible videos, by the way. And then they got better after a while.
Yeah.
Have you ever looked at some of your old videos, Clay?
Oh yes. And I did before tonight too. So yeah, it's fun to do. A little gross, but pretty fun.
You get the douche chills, right?
Yeah. It's bad. And I'm actually in a bad lighting situation today. I'm down in my basement. Don't like it down here. I've got my office dialed in upstairs, but it's gonna be a little late. So for marriage sustainability purposes, I'm down in the basement recording tonight.
Clay, you look sexy tonight in this lighting. Just telling you. Yeah, very hot. Clay's a hot guy in this lighting. Are you? So wait. Now you see, this is what happens. We start getting off track here.
Happens.
Are you? I've seen your office. Are you going to start like making it very podcasty?
No, I mean it's super small for one. But I got it dialed in terms of making the background darker to kind of, frame me in a little bit. Got a banner up there, but it's I'm gonna take a picture and put it on the overlay somehow. But you got to see my setup, and everybody has their own unique ones. You've got like the killer mic arm and stuff. My laptop is right now resting on a couple puzzles, a Monopoly box, and a Scrabble box or something like that to prop up my laptop, which is my camera. So
yeah,
we do it big here.
That builds character, though. That builds character. Yeah. I, before you get right. I mean, look, I'm in basically, this is my podcast studio, but it's just a couple, colored lights, and I put a fake tree behind me here,
Yeah.
I mean, it
looks good.
Yeah, you make it work. It looks like I call it the Playboy Lounge, in here.
There you go.
Or the champagne room is a better way to. So long short was just out there, just doing it for fun. Roster Watch hired me to do some articles and some videos for them, just as I was still working, so I'm doing it like as a side hustle. And then, I would put together all that video content that I did, and I would go around to all the big sites. I looked at Football Guys. I looked at Rotowire. I was just like seeing what they were up to. And what I noticed was Rotowire just didn't, their YouTube page was non-existent. It was like, just what a bad YouTube page looks like. I love the brand. I love the company. I love all the personalities. And I was a caller to the show. So I sent everything there, said, hey, I could do this and do all the YouTube things and the content. And they said, no, we don't need anybody. We're not interested in this. Yeah. And a year went by. So I continued to work for, Roster Watch and do a little bit for DFS Army, and just kind of, saying like, hey,
did you continue to call in? Did you continue to call
all the
in?
time?
With your bits still? And
yeah.
all?
Yeah. I did like a year end, like
on brand.
Yeah. I mean, I love doing it. And I said, hey, if you ever need anybody, this is what I could do. And then, long short was a year later. This is right before the pandemic. They said, hey, let's try this out for a 3-month thing. We'll give you a small amount of money to do a 3-month thing. And I was able to take the YouTube page from, I think it had like 300 to like 3,000 pretty quick. And then 3,000 to 10. Yeah. And then before you know it, I was helping people. I redesigned their whole like workflow with podcasts and StreamYard, all the stuff that right now seems like, this is like what we do. But pre-pandemic, not a lot of people knew about the StreamYard and things like that. And
that's true. No, that's definitely true. And I guess before we get into, I'm going to pull up some graphics and stuff on my end, and we'll look at trades in 5. I'm looking forward to showing under the hood a bit, but what was I going to ask you? What were you just talking about? I literally just lost my train of thought
about how building YouTube when Rotowire, I sent them a whole bunch of stuff.
Good Lord. It's funny. When I was on with Alan at the first time I was on him with him in Sirius, I totally drew a blank. But Alan's a host, so he was able to pick me back up. No, but I was going to ask you, what's your favorite thing to do? Is it graphic design? Is it video work? Is it talking on Sirius? What's your stick?
So it depends like what day it is, what month it is. Like I go on like a rampage of like thumbnail design. I'm like, this is all I want to do. I don't want to do any content on air. And then I'm like, okay, I've kind of exhausted that. And I'm like, all right, give me as many radio shifts as you want to give me. You know what I'm saying? Or give me at the end of the day, I like what you do. I like talking to people. I like bringing people from all over fantasy football and content creation onto my podcast, onto the radio show, and just finding out about them. So I love talking to people. So video work, editing comes along with that. It's fun when you make a nice TikTok and it cuts well and it does well, and all these vanity metrics that we jump up and down and high five each other over. That's fun too. And I'm telling you, I haven't done a lot of writing in the last year and a half, but I used to love it, man. 500-word article. Yeah. Love it. I mean, and that was my first love of this thing. Rotowire's been around for 25 years. They were a written thing first that really didn't focus on video until I came along and, they were already doing some video, but really try to push that thing. So favorite is just talking to people, hosting a podcast or radio show. How about you, man? What's your favorite thing that you do here? Is it because you do all the same crap too?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's obviously being on with Shane and Scott is a treat, and we have so much fun on our Tuesday live streams like that. That will never ever go away. Our Tuesday live streams, we'll bump them every once in a while to a Wednesday, but that's our rock, right? But my favorite thing to do, honestly, has become like producing videos. So Shane and Scott will record a mannequin chill in StreamYard. My steps are I go in there, or excuse me, I tell my editor, Liam, who's the man, to go in, hey, there's a mannequin chill there for you. So he does an initial cleanup just of the, and all of that good stuff.
No.
And
he does it himself manually though. He's cutting.
Yeah, he does. He's ultra fast. I used to do all of this on my own, and I was super slow, like the opposite. Is that the opposite of ultra slow? But yeah, so I send it to him. He does an initial cut. We go back and forth maybe a couple times, but my favorite part is going from, okay, so you got Shane and Scott right here. Mm-hmm. When Scott's talking, you do a little bit of just solo him. And then after 7 seconds, you do like a slight zoom in with his window just to reset the screen, and then go over to Shane and then show them together. So it's like the production to where it's almost like they're sitting in a room with one another. So the production stuff is my favorite.
It's creating that multi-camera shoot, but just by the editing.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the easy way of putting it there, Mr. Allen. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to switch this overlay around here. Let's see if I can do this properly. Okay, so let's just show a high-level look at the analytics of Trades in 5. So, Alan, we just celebrated our 2-year anniversary. It was like October 16th or something like that. Yeah, thank you, man.
Happy anniversary.
Thanks.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we did a 5-hour super stream on the anniversary day, so that was cool. But let's pull this up here. Good. It looks like it fits on the overlay. So you see the estimated revenue there. I just left it up, man. I just left it up. It's not a ton of money that you make as a content creator when it comes to what you're getting from Google AdSense. There's super chat money in there, and I've got 2 co-hosts. Right. Yep. So this obviously is not the main source of our income, but it just shows you, like, unless you're one of these folks who's, Mr. Beast, who's setting out a video of this getting tens of millions. Yeah, you can make a stupid amount of money on AdSense. But anyway, so
can I jump? I just want to add to what you said. Yeah, the YouTube revenue, the $850 there, that is just the gravy. What you're doing is you're really trying to build the platform here.
Exactly.
So you can create products, so you can, build sponsorships, so you can build credibility. Yeah, I mean, no one's going to survive on just YouTube revenue, like you said, with the exception of, these super creators. But what you're building here is really just sort of like a launch point. It's like a home base for all the other monetary opportunities.
Exactly. I like to call our YouTube channel like the machine that we built. So you can see there though, in terms of views, and this is all over the last 28 days. So when I pull out my phone and I look at the YouTube Studio app, this is what I'm looking at several times a day. So
Hmm.
I'll pull down and see if that subscriber number, goes up by a tick here and there. But I'll point out a couple things is so to be monetized on YouTube, it's 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time. Now, oftentimes it's easier to get the subscriber number. It's the watch time that's tricky. For us, we didn't start doing live streams for a while. We were actually just very short form, 5-minute
Hmm.
trade shows. So the watch time wasn't immediately huge, but you look at it now over the last 28 days, 32,000 hours of watch time. And I just think of Shane when I see this in the bottom right corner, lifetime of the channel, 585,000 hours of people watching me, Shane, and Scott, which is just
So
comical.
sick.
And
So
2
sick.
million views. Yeah, it's really cool. So, and then the last thing I'll point to is on the views thing there, 28 days saying my hard work paid off.
2 mil.
41% more views than usual over the last 28 days. We just did it. We just did a few more shows. We just did. I mean, it's just volume. Essentially, gave us a lot more reach and views.
Yeah. So what I was going to say is that it's great that you look at the analytics, but for anyone, and how I promoted this podcast, as I said, anyone that's either looking to get into this or to podcasting, it doesn't have to be about fantasy football, or that just likes the grind of the grow. What Clay is doing is very unhealthy mentally.
Oh, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure.
Do not check it every day. I mean, you can't, because I do the same thing too, but it's just better just to put out that stuff that you love, right? And just keep doing it and then let the chips fall their way. Because as you know, there's going to be dips and there's going to be
For
downs,
sure.
right? And you just have to, you can't let the highs get too high and the lows get too low with this content creation. But that said, you have to be very proud of what you built there. And I like that how you positioned it. You said there's 2 million hours of people watching us three knuckleheads, right? I love that. I love that you
Yeah,
can't believe it. Well, listen, you're proud of this. You built it. You birthed it.
for sure, for sure. And the focus the whole time has been content and community. Those are our two pillars. Always right off the bat, just engaging with the community, and it's genuine. We're not what is it, fantasy frauds. We're in the trenches with our viewers. We have 53 people in here hanging out, looking at analytics of this channel. So that's cool in and of itself. So I love this part of the audience analytics, excuse me. I don't even need to look at this anymore, but it's just kind of cool in terms of a heat map as to when our viewers are online or on YouTube. And obviously you can see there the darker purple is the higher amount of viewers on there. So you would look at that, and let's look at Monday, for example, after 12 p.m. You see it starts ramping up right there.
Mm-hmm.
What's interesting is the analytics in YouTube Studio. It says that the best time to launch a video is actually more like 3 o'clock for me, because excuse me, this seltzer water, this bubbly, man. Yeah, it was on like a
That
good deal, but
stuff
it's
tastes
got
like
me.
syrup. It tastes like that stuff is gross, man.
It's ineffective. It's just immediately regret this decision. No, but so it says like 3 o'clock. And I get it, like that's the peak time, but I like to put it up a couple hours before that. I like to drop videos on YouTube around the 10 to 11 mark, because I want it to, be there when people get online.
Yes.
There
Yes.
is something too, and YouTube has a little blurb like the posting time is not known to affect the long-term performance of your video. That's pretty much the words. But there is something to be said for what's called view velocity. So if your video gets legs right off the bat, so YouTube is going to send
Mhm.
out your video to a batch of your subscribers or to your
20%,
subscribers.
right? 10 to
Yeah,
20%. Yeah.
right. And it gauges feedback on that, and then we'll push it out more and more. But it is good to have that initial view velocity. So not only just hitting upload and publish on YouTube, but then you've got the tweet ready. You're going to shoot out the tweet. You're trying to get as much traffic onto YouTube as you can at that time. And if
Although,
and if it's a good video, it takes off. And then you
yeah.
watch the rankings, 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10. You know what I'm talking about, Alan?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But here's my question for you. So you're talking about like tweeting out the YouTube link just to get it as many places as you can. I mean, with
Right.
the new with what Twitter's doing though, I know you hear like the algorithm. We're going to talk a lot about the algorithm, right? And
Right.
your fight against the algorithm. I think that I look at some of the conversions, like when I put out a YouTube link on Twitter, there's not a lot of people coming over through there, right? I mean, I
Yeah.
believe that Twitter is suppressing external links, but even then, like think about your behavior, right? And you, whoever's listening to this, right? I see Shane's in there. And is that Shane's last name? Is it Manila? Shane Manila?
Yes. Yes, it is.
That's not what I thought his name was. I thought it'd be Shane Hugats, you know?
And it's with one N, one L. It's
We
like,
got Yeah, I
yeah.
gotta get Shane over to Rotowire. I've had Scott on, I've had you on. I gotta get him on. So
Oh, for sure.
this is an open. I'll reach out to him. But I mean, think about your behavior on Twitter.
Mhm.
How many times? And now I'm not talking about curiosity or you want to see what someone else is up to, but as a consumer, how many times are you clicking on an external link to leave, watch the 30-second commercial, skip it, and then watch the video? Few exceptions, right? Most part,
Sure.
you're watching whatever's embedded on Twitter and you're scrolling through. So I'm not saying don't do that, but I still promote all of my YouTube stuff and try to bring them back over. But I just wonder the effectiveness, the obsessiveness, and I'm trying to like really focus my energy or
Yeah.
figure out new ways. And that's part of this conversation today, Clay.
Yeah, I think when you were talking about that, I think of a few things. One being just consistency. The fact that we do our live streams at 8:30 Eastern, like almost every Tuesday, and we consistently drop a Mannequin Chill on Fridays. I think just the fact that when something's dropped, we attach a tweet to it. We keep the Trades in 5 handle really clean to where it's just like new stuff or giveaways, promos, what have you. But I think it's just, and maybe it's for me too, Alan. Maybe it's a thing where, hey, this is just my process. And I imagine I'm not an SEO stud by any means, but the more you have the words Dynasty Trades, Dynasty Trades, Dynasty Fantasy Football with your content and links attached, and you've got, your website that's hosting it, there's got to be something with that.
And
Like
even
there's
if it's
got to be some value.
Yeah, and even if it's 3 people that come over, right? I just don't want anyone that's listening that just basically is using Twitter as a promotion
Yeah.
to push. Just understand, like, think about how you guys talk about Dynasty Fantasy Football on your stream. Winning is the margins. It's getting that extra 3rd-round pick, that extra 4th-round pick, so you can later use it to get Gardner Minshew in a spot start at quarterback. That's what the Twitter part is. So I am not saying don't do it. I just want, we're talking to a very broad audience here. So people that have done this and really are neck deep in the YouTube game, and others that are just, hey, how do I do this all? So, really what I was coming back to is good content wins. You can say, hey,
Exactly.
I posted 10. I do this at 12. There's our little things that can give you that boost. We're going to talk about thumbnails and titling, but good content will be viewed. Bad content will be pushed to the side. Now, that doesn't mean all good content viewed and all bad content, but
Yeah.
I think that, yes, I like that your process, but I just wanted to outline that I think focusing on YouTube and just putting out good stuff is really what the start, middle, and the finish of it all.
That's everything. That's everything. If you can get people to click on your video and watch it the whole way through, and it takes some kind of action, commenting, liking, whatever that conversion is, that ask, then yeah, I mean, YouTube's going to push it out. If people are enjoying it, the YouTube algorithm is quite smart. It's going to shoot it out to more people. So one thing that I do love to look at are the audience retention graphs on an individual basis. So I'm actually going to go back to the other screen. Wish I had somebody on the 1s and 2s who could do it all slick,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You talking about like art design, graphic design?
I mean, like being able to like flip and flop between like the different views and
stuff. Oh no, you're the
like
producer too. And
yeah,
just so
yeah,
you know,
I know.
just so you know, this is like porn to Clay and I right here. Just so you know, like these graphs and these charts, this is,
I can't stand up from behind this desk right now, basically. Yeah.
The camera is changing angles.
So this is cool because this is from our latest stream, our Tuesday stream last night. So it was Dynasty Debrief on week 12. And this shows just the initial analytics. I think the coolest thing ever there is that concurrent viewers. We had 400 people who were on there with us the entire time. And it's funny because it's so tight every time. The range, Alan, it's like anywhere from 390 to like 440 or something. It's like rock solid in that low 400s. So that's just so cool. But look at the right, the audience retention. You see that typically, or I'm sorry, only 35% of people essentially are making it all the way to the end. And you see that
That's
right there
good.
at the
That's actually a
bottom.
good number, dude.
It is. You see right there at the bottom, and you can see on the graph itself too how it's just that drop. 66% of viewers are still watching at around the 30-second mark, which is below typical. So that is classic for our live streams because, for one, they get in there and they're like, oh, this thing is an hour and 30 some odd minutes long, and they bounce because we get, as you know, right into a trade. Like, why would somebody, if they see the thumbnail and it's about Dynasty Trades and you come in hot with a Dynasty trade, why are they bouncing? It's because of the length of the video. But this just gives people an idea like how much you are losing right off the bat and how key those first 30 seconds are.
Yeah.
So let me show you this one. So a couple of videos, these aren't Dynasty videos. So Hi, I'm Shane was a get to know Shane kind of video. My favorite video I've ever made in my life, 100%. So many graphics, so much movement. I could probably, if I could figure out how to do the sound and everything, I could pull it up on here. But look at that audience retention graph.
How you pull it up is
flat.
You just upload it into the videos piece, right?
Okay.
I'll give you a
Shane,
thumbs up.
what do you do every day?
Just a typical work weekday.
Let's do
Plays
today.
with his dick in his office,
Yeah.
yells at people.
Let's see. I get there about 8:30. To work about 8:30, and then I work.
You a morning person, Shane?
No, I f***ing hate the morning. Most
Do
days.
do you have an iced coffee on the way?
Yes, I have a Dunkin' Donuts that is 30 seconds away from my apartment. First thing I do is I go get my iced coffee and smoke a cigarette and contemplate my life. And is this really all there is?
You have a macro life moment,
Every morning.
life
Every
talk
morning.
with yourself every morning.
Every morning.
So I'll stop there. But there's a million.
I've seen that video. I've seen that
It's-
video.
It was such an obsession with audience retention to keep people on there. Constant movement. We did a lot. It was a lot of work on the captions, like the macro life moment, like that kind of stuff just like keeps you on. And there's so much hilarious. My editors is amazing, but that's my favorite video I've ever done. And on the one on the right is one about me where I meet Marilyn Mosby, who is very infamous here in Baltimore, Maryland. And I basically was hounding her, telling her, hey, you've got this like consulting business on the side. Like, I don't even want to talk about your criminal aspect. I can make cool TikToks and reels. Anyway, I'd closed her followed her on Instagram. She followed me, whatever it is. And I made the video and she was not pleased because I called her a criminal at the start of the video. Anyway, look at how cool that audience retention graph is over there on the right. It goes down and then like about halfway through there, it starts going back up. So there's like a re-engagement, and then the spike that you see on the far right, that's when people go back to look at it again. So that part of the video happened to be where it pulled up the profile of Marilyn Mosby, like who she was. She was I won't talk too much about it. It's just district attorney here in Baltimore City. I'm sorry, mayor.
Yeah, I want to just rewind a second here to you were talking about the video that you made with Shane, and now that you played it, I definitely have seen that video. Yeah, I think that is like you just glossed over the fact that there's constant motion. How many seconds? What was the total video? Was it a 3-minute video?
Yeah, for Shane's was 3 minutes, and the one over on the right was like 1 minute 18 seconds. Go ahead.
Right. So how often are you making something move or like when I'm doing a 2-minute video, I want something every 3 to 5 seconds happening.
For sure.
Whether it's a popped caption,
Exactly.
and the thing that you did there, like with your B-roll, like when you hit the smashing of the alarm clock, you did something that a lot of people use too much B-roll, right? Because B-roll can be interrupting, and what you did was you still have his voice talking while the B-roll was going. Because how many videos do you see like man on the street interviews where they're talking to some girl and they'll like ask her a question and she'll say something like shocking, and then they'll cut and they'll show like a clip of like Kevin Hart going, "No, you didn't," or something like that. It's like it interrupts.
Yeah,
the video.
you're leaving the video kind of. Yeah.
And
right.
I think what you did there is you B-rolled over the voice, and that's what
Yeah.
keeps the viewers connected. Again, this is just nerd stuff that like I connect with. So that's why I brought it to your attention.
But people need to go and watch that video for sure.
Yep. How you doing your captions, by the way? Or is he using an auto caption program?
Yeah, he uses an auto caption and then does some adjusting himself. But we started getting to where we really try to vary the size of the captions, not just the colors. You can tell which is like the stock, like TikTok, caption system or whatever. But
No, I'm a caption fanatic. That's why I said.
Are you?
I experiment with different kinds of crazy captions and what's going to work, and basically just what catches my attention when I'm thumb scrolling at night, right? Like, oh, so what I'll do is if I like a video, even if it's like on making cupcakes, I mean, that's not a lot of cupcakes, but I'll save that video and be like, oh, okay, I'm inspired by this. I want to maybe create a caption for fantasy football like this.
Yeah,
that's the stuff that keeps people, and it doesn't have to be cat. It could be what's keeping me engaged in the video.
Yeah, I do this little series. I have to do a couple more of them, but Dynasty Trades in hindsight, where it's TikTok and Instagram short, just like one thing we did well when launching the channel, one thing we didn't do well.
I've seen it. I like it.
Yeah, I need to start doing more of that, and hopefully there'll be some stuff to clip from this tonight as well. But I just think it's so fun.
I doubt it.
Yeah. Probably being a little bit optimistic there, but that'll end up being a different show too. Is Instagram and TikTok, because that is a whole different animal.
Well, it all connects. I mean, like the YouTube Shorts is not that different than Instagram Reels or TikTok. I mean, there are nuances and what works on the platform, but
yeah,
it really leads me into one of the questions I wrote down for you: is how I go back and forth on this. YouTube Shorts, for anyone who doesn't know, is a 60-second vertical video. Vertical is like what you get on your mobile device versus, standard YouTube videos, which is horizontal, straight across the normal YouTube. So what is Dynasty Trades in 5? What is your Shorts strategy for the channel? Like, how important do you think it is?
Yeah, it's funny with Shorts. And I actually have some data on that as well. But I was slow to get started with YouTube Shorts. Because, and this was all in my head. But I didn't want to bombard our subscribers with notifications constantly. They were getting all these shorts and whatnot, but they were working well over on Instagram and TikTok. And it's relevant content that's good and well edited. It's stuff that our subscribers would enjoy. It was just me being like fearful. I don't know. I got to where I was testing it. I guess I should be fair to myself. I'm learning as I go here, and I kind of like to use Instagram and TikTok as like testing grounds in a way.
You're a little more protective with YouTube, aren't you?
I am so protective over our hammer babies here on this channel.
Show it again.
Really
show the shirt. Show it.
Yeah.
There we go.
So it's just a hammer. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah,
we've got trades in 5, like hat and stuff too. But
I thought of an idea for you guys then, right? Like, how like people always have these this is a product idea. You could have it if you want it, or you could throw it in the garbage. People have all these disputes, and seeing the hammer made me think of it. Have these disputes in their leagues. They should in what do you do in real life if you have a dispute? You go to court. You go to Dynasty Court, and someone decides. So you guys are like a Supreme Court. You're an odd number, the number of 3, and you guys could
drop the hammer.
Yeah, well, it would, instead of a gavel, right? You have the hammer. You would wear the big wig, whatever it is, the old school.
Hey, I'll take more hair. I'll take more hair if you want to throw a wig.
Who are you talking to? Well, what I'm saying is that could be a product. We'll dispute your dynasty lawyer. Whatever it is. So anyway, throw that one. I just thought of it when I saw the hammer, the gavel. That was the association.
Yeah, so let me pull this up. I had a shorts little thing I created as well. Let me just pop this up. But yeah, so I was doing a ton over on Instagram and TikTok. We still do a lot, like at least one a day. Every once in a while we'll miss one, but we'll do 2 in one day. But posting tons and tons. Well, I decided that I was going to start doing more shorts, because for those listening who don't know, one thing that's good about shorts is it pushes it to folks that aren't your subscribers. You're getting reach, viewers that don't have as much exposure to your stuff. Sure, they've seen you when they're being suggested your stuff, but anyway, it's a new audience, so it's fresh impressions essentially. And even though I just started doing it more heavy in the last 30 days, you see here, I mean, the views went up like a decent amount. The subscribers only 40 out of our 11,000, whatever it is, but they're working. They're working, driving traffic, and I can tell that they are because you always know if somebody's commenting like, "LOL, these guys are clowns." It's like, yeah, you're new. You're either from TikTok or YouTube Shorts.
Thanks for the engagement.
But
Thanks
hey,
for the engagement.
thanks for watching. We'll discuss it on our next live stream. You should join 8:30. But Shorts was something that is definitely a Dynasty Trades in hindsight thing that I'm going to end up coming up with because I should have gotten started earlier on that.
Yeah,
I shouldn't be too mad at myself, but I should have.
Yeah, it's amazing though, because I'll take the same, let's call it a 48-second video, and I'll post it on TikTok, and then it'll just say explode 10. For us, like we've done videos that go of 10,000, 50,000, 150,000, and then 200. But we'll do a video just say that does 10,000 views on TikTok. That same video, 300 views on YouTube, right? It's just the audience is totally different. The experience is different. And there are little nuances that work on these different platforms. And the only way you learn those as a creator is by being on the platform, right? I mean,
exactly.
It's, by the way, I'm curious, do you guys create any content? This is going to sound odd for LinkedIn at all.
No. Yeah. I mean, no, none.
Yep. And the reason I even ask it is because I am far from an expert on LinkedIn, but I looked around. There is no fantasy football content.
There's an opportunity. There's an opportunity.
I started doing it, and I'm throwing YouTube content on LinkedIn.
Is that what you're doing?
I'm doing our live streams.
Interesting.
Right? I'm doing because on StreamYard for you can connect your LinkedIn and it shows up as a live event. And I start getting people asking us questions like, I'll have 4 live viewers. I mean, we'll have whatever we have on the other platforms, but 2 live viewers on LinkedIn or somebody that knew me from the, and I put our product link, for our products, our draft kits, cheat sheets, things like that in my bio. And, the free trial, that's a big thing that Rotowire sells is our free trials or, gives away. So if people say, I always say, if you like this type of content, go check out our free trial. So again, you were talking about the margins, right? And it's just, I haven't figured out LinkedIn as far as doing content, but there's an opportunity there. Like
it's another spot for sure. It's another spot. And at the very least, again, SEO wise, there's something there. I wouldn't want my LinkedIn connections. I guess there's a lot of old digital marketing connections, but tons of recent medical sales connections.
They
and
all
stuff. I guess it doesn't matter.
They
right?
all play
Dynasty.
Yes, they all play. Well, right. Well, Dynasty is definitely niched down.
They all play fantasy.
They all play in 10-team, 2 receiver leagues. So
yeah. And I'll see if it's gonna let me. I'm gonna download one of our one of our shorts too to see if that would play decently for us. But let's move on to a different topic. So Alan, what's your biggest struggle with, let's go with YouTube content in terms of getting views, getting more engagement? What are you finding the hardest?
So the difference between what you're doing and what I'm doing is that you're making your own content exclusively, right? And then, when I say your own content, it's your own company and you're handling like 1 or 2 creators, right? So you, for more or less, I say you handpicked them, you sought out Scott and Shane because you liked what they did. Yes. And you're making content that is like, it gives you fire in your belly, right? So what I'm doing over at Rotowire is there's other creators there, and I all think they're very talented, but it's such a wide range of creators, and they're not as interested in growing YouTube as they are in some of them, as they're more like writers. They love the YouTube, they love the engagement. So I have less creative control. So I'm now into the editing world. So and it's reflected in the numbers because I know some of the nuanced things that you do for YouTube, and you'll see some of their videos that they do, we're at a certain level. And then when I'm doing my YouTube nuance things with the creative, I know, for example, titling in the off season, top 10 dynasty running backs that you need to draft, right? Boring title, but we know it works. Okay.
It works. It works.
Right. So they'll create a title in which I have to end up going and fixing is something that's not YouTube friendly. So it's working with like 15 or 20 creators on content that's not maybe necessarily true to me.
Yeah.
So that's the most difficult thing, is trying to get them to be more YouTube centric. Now, we started a YouTube channel from zero about 6 weeks ago. I said, let's niche out fantasy basketball. And we did all I with the creators that do fantasy basketball. I always kind of push them to the side because our channel's mostly football, and then we switch over to baseball, the Rotowire YouTube channel.
Yep.
And they gave me a commitment that they would follow all of the YouTube things. I said, let's start this from zero. We got it to 2,000 quick. The videos were getting 10,000 views, 4,000 views. We've leveled off on the live streams that are like 1,500.
Sure.
So, answer your question directly. It's that the biggest challenge is making people that have done that are legacy in this business to understand new media.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, that was a long answer, but that is, if you could tell, that's been inside of me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair. And you have to adapt, and it's, yeah, I get it. I get it.
Yeah. But they're getting better. They're getting better at it. And the channel is reflecting that. How about you? I mean, is it video length for you? Is it, I mean, what do you guys? There's been what's going to get you guys to the next level? What's going to get Dynasty Trades Defined to 50,000 subscribers by the end of next year?
We're, honestly, if we wanted to be that big, I think we could be quite larger than we are right now. If we were doing buy, sell, rankings type stuff, we will never do that.
That doesn't fit the brand at all.
It doesn't fit the brand, and it doesn't fit us. It's not us. It's not how we play. We're all about strategy and whatnot. And just, if we can get our subscribers, our listeners, supporters to just think differently, think about strategy, roster construction, then it's a W for us. So we could be a lot bigger. With that being said, if Dynasty Trades in 5, if I end up trying to make this more of we end up trying to make this more of a network thing, that doesn't mean I can't have my hands in some redraft or some buy, sell Dynasty content if it's still good content, because people want it. People want to. I mean, it's fair. I still have a ton of respect for everybody who puts out any content, even if it is the clickbaity buy sell. Yeah, I mean,
it's not clickbaity. It's getting some.
It's not.
And
it's delivering on what is in the video. Clickbaity is misused, but
but I understand why you said it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Clickbaity is. We were jokingly was going to make my next video called the Epstein client list. And then when they get there, we're just talking about fantasy football. That's clickbaity,
Yes.
Back in the day, yeah. If you want people to click on your video, all you got to say is 10 ways guaranteed to get you girls, or guaranteed to get you $1 million. But
right.
Listen, titling, there's a reason why this stuff works. Right now, at the end of the day, you showed all these analytics. People they'll give you a chance if you have a good title, or a title that works, a good thumbnail, but that only gets you the door. That's the curb appeal, right? When you're buying a house.
Exactly.
And you get inside and there's paint rotted all over the place. There's dog piss on the floor. You're walking right out, right? There has to be quality content. You can use these. When I do my off-season podcast, Clay, I'll call it top 10 running backs. But what it ends up being is just a discussion on running back strategy. How should we?
Right.
Stuff that would warm your heart. And the other thing you said, and I love that you said this about, we don't need to get to 50,000 by next year, because we want the right kind of subscribers. The ones we want depth rather than width. I think that's so important.
Yes.
And people get caught up in these vanity metrics. Oh my God, this video only got 300, 500 views. Yeah, but those people, man, they were engaged, So
Exactly.
I really love that you said that and you highlighted that.
Yeah, and that's always been a big thing for us, is being true to our brand, true to ourselves, but just really building a strong organic community. I think pound for pound, our subs are just as strong as anybody's in the space. I mean, I'd like to think so. If you have 400 people who are coming to a Tuesday live stream, graciously, we love our subs. We're doing something.
Throwing money in the tip jar because they love it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and YouTube takes 30% of that.
Oh,
yeah,
I know. Yeah,
isn't that wild?
Yeah, I mean, I know it because we put on. Actually, you are the one who taught me about super chats, whether you knew it or not. I didn't know they existed
Oh,
until I
really?
saw you
Yeah.
doing it. I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, let me flip this on. And then, we have a bunch of guys that do a great like start sit. Now, listen, start sit is a pain in the neck, but it's a service, right? And if somebody wants to
Yes.
throw $2 in your tip jar, that's awesome, man. Like to get to the front of the line, right? Just like, listen,
Yes.
back in the day when we would go to bars, if you gave the guy a 20, he'd zip you right in, right? Get you right in. So
If you want your question answered and you want to throw it on loop for it, then sure. Super chats are very tricky though. I personally I like them. Obviously, it's nice tip money here and there. It buys me a couple hours of editing work, like my cut of
is it
it.
funny
But
how you think of it like that now?
it's just so tricky though, timing it to where you have to end the live stream. We turn our super chats off at 9:15 and we still go through 10 p.m. with them. It's a good problem to have, right? I'm talking about first world problems here, but at the same time, there are little things like that which make content creation not as sexy sometimes.
Okay, so that it's funny you say that. Next thing on my list, I know you put together a list, but I got a list here too for you because listen.
Oh, I don't have a list.
Yeah,
I don't have a list.
I just wrote the word burnout. Burnout,
yeah.
Clay. Okay,
Yeah.
you could love this thing all you want, but do you experience burnout? And it's okay if you don't, but how do you work through that burnout? What do you do to take a step back? Like, and explain even like what your burnout is. Like, when do you feel it and how often?
Yeah. I mean, often. No, it's a real thing. It's a real thing, no doubt, because you're spending tons of time on a video, especially when I was doing more editing. I pushed it away. It's the best thing I've ever done. I'm just so particular with certain edits, but he's learned my style. But anyway, yeah, you're doing all this stuff. It's not only like the shooting of the video, everything after that, the titles, thumbnails, but also turning it into short form. You're making, different size graphics for different things. Just all of the distribution that you do after the fact, the shooting of it is 5% of it.
That's the easy part.
But then once you get out, it's the easy part. Once you get out all the tweets and all the TikToks and whatnot, then it's like, okay, let's watch the analytics on this, see how it did, but on to the next one, on to the next one. Like, you're glancing at the analytics, generally how it's going to do before you fire it out, but you just go on to the next one. So I'm trying to think. There was a time where I hit like a wall, and honestly, I was still putting out a show or two a week, and we were still doing the live stream. I could put on a good face, but there was like 2 weeks where I was just over it. I couldn't look at any more comments anymore on like TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. It was just, I was like, I can't answer like this trade question right now. And yeah. I was never gonna quit, but it got like rough.
Yeah, no, you feel like you're in the 8th round of a boxing match, and you're taking shots, you're taking jabs to the nose, and you're like, I'm not quitting, obviously, but I could, if the round comes soon enough, and I could sit for two minutes between rounds, I would be good with that. Yeah, the answering question. Listen, and it's like, we're complaining, like, in a sense, but it's a real thing. It's when you do something you love. And you find out, like, when you start getting like making a business out of it, this is anything, right? All chefs that work in executive chefs in a restaurant used to love cooking for their friends at the holidays, right? That's when it was like fun. And then when it starts becoming a grind, they're like, oh my God, this is, I can't be working 6.5 days a week anymore doing this stuff. So it's just refreshing for me to hear that someone like you who's putting your passion just comes through the screen. I mean, and that's awesome. with when you're working with the guys, with Shane and Scott, and to hear that you go through that too is comforting to me. Not because you're miserable, but because because I feel that misery as well sometimes.
Yeah, and if you search on YouTube for burnout tips and stuff, there's millions of videos on that. That's for sure. I just wanted to scroll. Right. I just wanted to scroll here and just show there are the bones of the channel that you do have to pay attention to. Welcome to our channel. We focus on 3 forms of content. If you click in here, this is absolute garbage. It's total garbage. It needs to be updated. With that being said, there are some links and stuff that I tightened up the other day, which is nice. So you have all the opportunities to be able to convert people when they come to your channel.
pause there for a second, right? So
Yeah.
what's it called? We're just helping each other. We're going to talk with a critical but creative sort of thing.
Yeah, let's do it.
So someone once told me that anything, you know Scott Pianowski over at Yahoo. Yeah, he was on our draft the other day.
Yeah.
He said that an editor once told him anything you could say in 13 words, you could probably say it better in 9 words, right? So just even like the welcome to our channel. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. No, you're not, just we focus on because that's what you do. That's the core of what you guys do. You focus on 3 forms of content.
Yeah, I would totally get rid of that.
Right.
In terms of the setup for YouTube too, just folks out here, if there's anybody in the crowd who's got a small channel and they just are considering the bones of it, you can tweak and customize what you want to be up top, like what's above the fold, below the fold. So videos, live streams, and then shorts. If you do a lot of short form content, you can have the shorts up at the top. But for us, I like to have it videos, streams, and then our shorts down here. And you can see we do pretty well in terms of the views on shorts. Now, what that would be over on the TikTok machine is probably more in the 8,000 to 10,000 view range. And then on Instagram, a little bit more than YouTube Shorts. But anyway, there's a look at that. Let me ask you this, Alan.
I love that you guys don't overkill the homepage with a million playlists. I think you do it perfectly.
No.
You have it done. God, you were about to ask me something. I interrupted.
Yeah, no, you're good. So I do have playlists, but I was going to ask you, if I go over to live here, you're a thumbnail guy.
Mm-hmm.
I can't stand my thumbnails. They're terrible. I actually like the one for tonight. I think that turned out fine. But I mean, when you look at this channel, like, what are your thoughts? I love to be creative.
Okay. Why does Dynasty School stand out? Why does roster review stand? Because less is more, right? I think you're being harsh on yourself with critiquing your thumbnails. It's hard to do, but I think that you need to be 1 to 3 words max on a thumbnail, right? So this is how I think of thumbnails. Thumbnail is the thing that catches your eye, and the thumbnail draws you to the title. Those things usually shouldn't say the same thing. Like, you shouldn't say like, so you
don't need to, right?
Right. So, I like your thumbnails, but I think, like you said, less is more, right? Instead of having 2 players, maybe you have 1 player, but 1 big player. Like, look at the one you have with Ron right there, right? It's very simple, right? It's Ron's avatar, and you have the Dynasty Trades in 5. Now, you already agreed that Dynasty Different doesn't really tell you what you're about to see, right? That's just kind of like the show on there. So I like putting like some sort of action word on the thumbnails. And by the way, like I said, I think you're harsh on yourself about saying you don't like your thumbnails, but it's a process you go through, right? It's I mean, you're putting like the branding on there. That's what the playlists are for. So I guess if I was to give you constructive criticism, which again, this is a process that we all go through, is limit yourself to 1 to 3 elements total. And it's hard.
I hate the mannequin show ones. I'm gonna do a total, like, today I was messing around with graphic design and stuff for like 3 hours, spent way too much time doing thumbnail type stuff, but I need to just get after it with the mannequin show thumbnails. I can't stand it. The chill, I've got like some cheesy icicle action that I put on there.
I don't mind it, but it makes sense,
it's okay. And whatever, at the end of the day, again, it's all about the content itself, right?
But no, wait, this is an important piece though, because this is how you get discoverability, right? And I think that you'll look at your thumbnails from a year ago and you'll cringe, right? But that's good. You want to do it because that means you've grown, right? If you're looking back at your thumbnails from a year ago, like, oh, that's what I do now, you haven't grown. And
look at this one, Alan. What do you think about that one? We traded services. This is my my 3rd favorite video I've ever done. This one's about me too. Me giving out a free roster review for merch modeling, which still hasn't happened. Let me say that.
There you go. But that's MJ. Obviously you're gonna get the eyeballs in there because you got the blonde woman with the breasts and the whole thing, much better to look at than Scott, on a thumbnail. I'm only kidding. Scott's a gorgeous human being. Gorgeous human being.
So is Shane. We are quite the motley crew.
Shane's hot.
Yeah, he is. Oh man, so I haven't even looked at the comments here. We have 42 people still in here joining. I really appreciate you you participating in this first rendition of Dynasty Creator.
Yeah, like I said,
Always
I knew it
great.
wasn't going to be your 400er, but man, I don't. It's the same principle that you're not wanting to do what the fantasy footballers do. You're trying to cast a wide net, sorry, a deep, not necessarily wide, right? Where these are people that are specifically interested in this is something you're passionate about, right? It's on brand a little bit for Dynasty Trades of 5, but it's a little bit off. And you guys, you don't even realize what you're doing right now. What you, Scott, and Shane are doing is you're inspiring someone else to do podcasts. Hey, I want to do what they do. A whole bunch of copycats are going to show up. And by the way, that's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
That's a good thing. We imitate those who, like when I first started doing podcasts, I just sounded like the guys that I liked. Right?
Sure.
I was doing bad impressions of them, just like in like traditional radio back in the 90s. How many people popped up and sounded like Howard Stern, right? They were doing
whatever
bad
was working.
Yeah, well, they were just doing bad impressions because that's what they liked. And Howard used to say to them, like, oh, these imitators. No, they're just doing what they like, and it sounds like him. So you're going to see very soon 3 guys sitting across doing trades. It might be called like Dynasty Trades in like 8 or something.
Yeah. And we're gonna start doing another 5-minute trade show, because I used to keep it to 5 minutes and 59 seconds at the very longest, and I would cut it right there. But so we are bringing that back. But yeah, this was cool. I guess last question and advice from you. So this was meant to be kind of an initial high level look and talk about it. Ultimately, I'd like to get to where it's a show. Maybe it's only 30 minutes, but it's just focusing on short form. And then it's like, okay, let's look at descriptions and titles and, where you put your affiliate links and stuff like that. Do you think it should be segmented like that, like nice and tight, maybe 15, 20 minute, like quick streams, or long form?
I think you got to go all over the place, right? I think you got to
let the audience tell you.
Right. But there'll also be people like, so if you do this, if we do this video stream, just say it was like an hour long, right? And you didn't use as much visual. We were describing it as we were talking to a podcast audience, and then you put it in a podcast feed, right? So there's going to be people that like to do hour long. So there's going to be people that just want to sit for 20 minutes. So I think you got to, like you said, let the audience decide. But just because maybe a video gets 300 views, listen, and they keep coming back. They love it.
Yeah.
If, Nick Ercolano, right? What he does over at Big Dog. Nick created a content creation channel. I mean, his fantasy football channel, tens of thousands of views. I think he's got 100,000 of subscribers, but then he created something just for content. And, gets like 150 views, 200 views on his channel of this thing, but it's the same 250. And I'm among those people that goes back and watches the hour long, and it's a video. And then I listen on a podcast. I never watch the small clips, but other people tell me they just watch the small clips.
Yeah. It is interesting. And I guess what's nice is we've done so much experimentation. So we kind of know what works and what does work, even if you might see a video saying, oh yeah, make your YouTube videos between 11 and 14 minutes for all your success. It can be all over the place. I personally do like to have it in like the 16 to 22 ish for like a Shane and Scott, like Manic and Chill. And then our live streams do quite well, even though 35% of people make it through.
Yeah, but they're 2 different shows. One is meant to engage audience and have interaction. And, people are coming in and out of that. And the other one, like you said, right, when you make those like 8-minute, 11-minute things, like if there's a piece of your live stream where just say you ask Scott a smart question and he's like hooks onto what you're saying, and him and Shane have a back and forth, and then it leads into this conversation about like, how should we really construct our roster in a best ball? Or I'm just making that up. Or, that whole Bryce Young video that you guys did, right? Or it just, they kind of lead into these things that organically are meant for 8-12-minute videos.
Yeah. And I think one of the best moves we did, if we're going to pat ourselves on the back, but the last super stream that we did on our 2-year anniversary, we had Ray G on, who we're partnered with from Destination Devy. Go check out destinationdevy.com. Check out those tools. No, but Yeah, he came on and it was just a State of the Union on the 24 class, and I took that section from the stream, gave it to my editor, and we went back and forth a few times, and it turned out to be an awesome video. And obviously YouTube likes the 2024. Everybody wants to see 2024 picks. So that video crushed, and it got us our second most subscribers from a single video in the history of our channel. Number one was a Bijan video where the title and the video delivered, but it said, "Don't draft Bijan." We were talking about how teams have no business taking Bijan Robinson if it's a bunch of trash cans. You're just going to waste them. So,
which by the way, I think I remember hearing that video, and it's funny because I did a video, draft Bijan. It's like, you can any side of it. Yeah. You can hear any side of any argument on here, which is fantastic, man. But hey, before I do want to say something to you here. I think obviously, I'm a fan. You guys do a great job, but I really appreciate all the details and the nuances that you put into this, Clay. And anyone that wants to get this, Clay's channel, the Dynasty Trades of 5, and the graphics and just all the little things. That's what I mean. Don't think like you have to get there. Clay has perfected this, or he's perfecting this on his journey right here. So yeah, I just think that people are paying attention to what you're doing, Clay, because you're putting so much attention to the detail. And I want you to know all those nuances as a fan, as a fellow creator, someone's doing this stuff. I thank you, man. You're a big part of my week, all three of you guys, and I love what you're doing.
I appreciate that, man. No, that's awesome. It's a lot of fun, and that's what's gonna be fun about this show, and just Dynasty Trades in 5 as a whole is we're just all growing together. We're all learning every single day, just on a different level, I suppose. But
yeah,
I hope people go into the comments and are like, "Oh, you're totally wrong on whatever you said here." I hope that's the case, because honestly, you can find a lot of different answers for a lot of different things about the YouTube algorithm. Just make sweet videos and engage with the people if they talk to you in the comments.
Yep. You want to hear a couple of the subjects, so we'll hit them on another time, or when you come back over to my show again. And by the way, you were really. I know you thought you got nervous on the radio. You said you did.
I did.
But you were awesome. The producers loved you too, man. The first time you came on, and even during the draft. But when I used to go on the radio for first, I used to get nervous too. It doesn't feel like now you're on your home base. You have your graphics. You're cool. But it is a little like hamana when you get onto the.
It is, because you're on Sirius satellite radio too.
There's a lot of people listening. Yeah, no, it's totally. I'm with you. And you want to do good, right? When you're on someone else's show, you want to perform and fit in. You did great. You did fantastic. So here are some of the topics. Optimal length we talked about. Editing versus live ratio. I want to hit that at one point. Yep. What else I have here? Timestamps. How important. I get
we need them. Don't use them. We don't have them yet. I mean, that has been on my back burner for God knows how long, but there's only so much time left in the day.
Yeah. So this is how I'll give you the one timestamp thing, which again, this is the advantage of having 15 creators creating it. I made it mandatory. You want to be on YouTube, you have to send me your timestamps. I say a minimum on an hour video, minimum of 6. But if you want to have more pieces of flair, that's fine too. If you want to.
It's funny. It's funny with timestamps. They would be more valuable, but I've thought about timestamps for a long time, and there are some potential pitfalls with people just scrolling and they're trying to find like a certain section. Like if we were to section off our live stream, like here's a trade with Mark Andrews and Trey McBride, and people would just go section to section and they're not watching as much of the video, and YouTube's not going to push it out as much. With that being said, I need to get that out of my head, because our videos are capped in terms of the amount of views anyway. Like our live streams and all, they'll like peak and kind of live 8 to 12,000. Like it's never going to get, we're never going to have a video that's going to get 150,000 views with our content.
Well, so I just never say never.
People never say never, but I just need to make people's experience, especially our own subscribers who want the timestamps, I need to make it a better experience for them. And,
the number one negative comment, other than calling me a bald asshole on our comment, is usually sorry. I don't know if that demonetizes you there. Sorry, Clay, but it's after 9. It's after 10 p.m. It's after 10 p.m. Where are the timestamps? Like seconds after the video. Where are the timestamps? Where are the timestamps? Like the timestamps mafia is a real thing, and again, all the things you said about that it might pull back like your watch time, your retention time. I think it makes the viewer experience better. I truly believe that, because I know when if I'm watching how to use a new camera I bought and it's a 17-minute video, I want to go right to the part that I want to go to. If you're doing a trade with there's a lot of Mark Andrews trades right now, right? If you marked a trade on a timestamp, Mark Andrews trade, and I don't even know who it was for, I would click on it. I would skip to that, and I would be like, oh, okay, this is what he's getting traded for in the open market, you know?
I think ultimately our supporters, our listeners would listen to the whole thing, but lots probably go back into it. And I look at the data, and people do go back into it, and they're probably looking for a very specific section. So I'm not going to affect my analytics and hurt my channel in any way. It literally is just a time thing at this point. Like all the things to do, like how do you triage your time? So
pick and choose. Well, you're doing something right. Again, this is not, timestamps aren't forever. I know that's a pain in the neck thing. That doesn't make enough difference for you to invest another. I mean, if to do it right, you have to rewatch the video. But what you can do is just skip every 5 minutes. Okay, what am I talking about? Stamp. Okay, skip another 8 minutes. Okay, stamp. And this way, that calms the timestamp mafia down.
Yeah. Look at this terrible lighting. Good call. I don't know exactly what he's talking about here.
In the beginning of our conversation.
Oh. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess that's it. I mean, we could go. We
for
could
another
go for
time.
a while.
I have 15 things on here, but again, I wrote what are you doing manual clips versus using AI right now? I mean, you don't have to answer that.
No AI.
Yeah.
I'm sure I could make things a lot easier if I got an AI guy or girl.
Yeah. Have you messed around with Opus at all?
Opus.
Are you aware of Opus?
Yes, I am. I didn't find that
it's not great.
Didn't find that it grabbed great stuff. It did point me in the direction of a spot on the video where there was something, but I don't need that just because I listened to the whole thing anyway.
Yeah. It gives you B+. For those, again, this will be the last, because I could talk about this stuff wherever with you. You know what I'm saying? I love it, and I don't want to bore the audience. But Opus is an AI tool where it's a great tool. You paste the YouTube link of an hour-long video, and it cuts 15 clips for you. 3 of them are B+ clips. Let's face it, right?
Yep.
But what you can do with your 3 of your 20 clips that it cuts, and it grades them for you, puts captions on it, all that stuff, is you can, just like a chef in a restaurant, I've used that reference before, is the guys on the side, they make the steak and the chef just throws like the garnish on it. You still need to put that Opus AI cut clip into an editor and still trim off the sides, add a picture, that. So it's not a task it's not a job replacer, it's a task shortener. It shortens your task. But overall, like I said, no one's going to do it like the chef who makes the steak and all that stuff.
Shane is afraid of artificial intelligence, so if I start using that, like I don't want him to leave the channel. He's like fearful of robots and stuff.
I mean, come on.
He's fearful of Scott.
You got to think. I'm convinced Scott is AI, by the way.
Scott is AI.
Yeah. He has just scraped the internet with that brain of his. No, but Shane shouldn't be afraid of AI, man. Come on, listen. You have to always ask, why is the government making us afraid of AI? They're making us afraid of AI to distract us from something else, right? AI can't, famous last words, right?
So distracting us from something else that we should be more afraid about than AI.
Yeah, like right now they're pushing out that AI is a threat to the banking system, right? It has nothing to do with government destroyed and inflated our money over the last 5 or 8 years.
It's AI. Yeah, it's AI.
Right. So if they unleash a virus, they've never done anything like that before. Unleash a virus and then it destroys the banking system, and then they can blame it on AI, not that they overinflated money, because the government would never partake in anything that released a mass virus to the world. That's never.
Never. Yeah, good stuff, man.
Demonetized.
Right. Well, we will say we've done worse. We will say bye to the few that are still in here. Not few, 36 folks still in here. Thank you for joining, and hope the people who watch this on replay get some value here. We'll definitely do it again. Alan, appreciate you, man. This was a good time. I'm gonna end this stream.